All right. All right, everyone. JustMo here. We're going to get into our interview. We have a very special guest with us here. Well, we have guests. Let me add an S there because there's more than one there. We have with us today Kira and Alberto. Welcome, guys, to the show.
Hello, thank you.
I'm so glad that you guys are able to join in today with us and share your experience, your life experience, your story. This one is a really good one. I mean, all the stories are really great as I'm getting to know people, but this story is amazing. So first off, before we even dive in, Kira, I want to just congratulate you for being 9 years clean from
Thank you.
heroin.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Thank you. Yes, it's been a long road.
I was just gonna say, I know it could not have been easy, especially after, you sharing your story with me. I know it couldn't have been easy, but congratulations to you. That is quite an accomplishment.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's really great. So, before we dig all into your business, we're
Mhm.
going to I just want you to kind of give, the audience a little bit of a background of who you are, what it, are you a parent? We know that you're married because Mr. Alberto's there.
Yeah.
Just tell us a little bit about yourselves, both of you.
Okay, so I have four children between both of us. We have a 19-year-old boy, a 14-year-old girl, a 6-year-old boy, and a 7-year-old girl. Um,
Okay.
we live in Florida now. And yeah, we're just kind of living life, it's a
Where
journey.
where are you guys from originally? Because you said
Chicago.
you're in Florida now. Where?
Chicago.
Chicago.
Oh, Chi-Town is in the building. Everybody better act right. You better be on your best behavior. Come correct.
Yeah.
Okay, Chi-Town. Oh my gosh. So that's a huge difference from Chicago to Florida. How are you guys liking Florida?
We love Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
We're
yeah,
never
I
planning to
bet.
go back.
Mm-hmm.
Really? Have you
Yeah.
have you been back to visit since you moved to Florida?
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
heavy up there. I didn't realize how heavy it was until I moved down here. It's very heavy there.
That's interesting that you say that. I'm gonna tell you why, because I'm not originally from Florida either. I'm from up north. I moved from Connecticut to Florida. And I know coming from up north to the south is like a whole nother world here.
Yeah.
And you really have to get readjusted. But when I
Mhm.
went back to visit, like I couldn't wait to get back. I'm like, I'm getting out of here.
Me
This is
too.
crazy. But when I went back to visit, I felt the same thing. I'm looking around like, how did I live up here for so long? It's so heavy. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, I could
You don't
not
even
wait.
notice. Yeah, you don't notice it till you leave.
Yeah. So that's
Mhm.
interesting that you guys felt the same exact thing when you went back to Chicago. So um let's go back to Chi-Town, if you will. Let's
Yes.
Kara, can you tell us, because today we're mainly focusing on your story. Can you tell us a little bit about your childhood, your growing up over there in Chicago?
Yes, I actually grew up about 45 minutes outside of Chicago, in the suburbs. And it was I never felt like I really fit in. It's a very bougie type town,
Mm,
yuppie type town. I was always a free spirit. I just kind of did what made me happy, and it's usually against the norm. Um, so I always felt like I didn't really belong in that
mm-hmm,
town. I was just very different from the people there. Um, I also had a lot of issues growing up. I had like an emotional behavior disorder. I was attention deficit, so I had trouble focusing, which you'll probably notice as we talk. Um, so oppositional defiant disorder. Nobody could tell me anything. Like I was always a leader type person,
okay,
and did what made me happy. For
okay,
the
okay. And and Alberto, you're from Chicago as well. What was your childhood like? Because you are gonna end up coming in at some point in the story, but while we're talking about childhoods, what was yours like?
Well, I actually lived in Chicago and was born there. I went to Puerto Rico, and as my father and mother split up and got a divorce. We went back to Chicago, and I lived fatherless.
Okay.
So
So you were in
my
a
first,
single parent home growing up. And what was the dynamic between, well, first of all, do you guys have siblings?
Hmm.
yes,
Yes. Where do you fall in the lineup?
I'm the oldest. I'm the oldest of the
Okay.
five.
Oh, oldest of five. And Kara?
Oldest stuff too.
Okay, so all right, this is the oldest sibling episode. I'm the oldest too. All right, holla back. Okay.
Yes.
Um, so what was the dynamic like with your parents growing up? Kira, you can go ahead and go first. What was that dynamic like, your relationship with your parents?
Um, it was very codependent. My mom was very, very strict. Like she made pretty much all my decisions. And I see it now as she was just trying to guide me, but I feel like she didn't really empathize with me, even from a young age. Like I was in a lot of therapies. My parents divorced when I was 8. And that's kind of when my therapy started.
Oh,
Uh,
okay. Mm-hmm.
yeah. So it was just kind of like everything went to my therapist, instead of my mom.
Mm, okay, so that she kind of left that to be the therapist's job to try to understand you, rather than being that parent to try to really work with you and understand you.
Yeah, I mean, I know that she had that relationship with her mom too. Her dad died when she was young. So I don't think she had the emotional support that she needed as a child. So she
Uh-huh.
wasn't able to give it to me like I needed.
Mm,
Um, but physically, she provided for us. That was how she showed her love by, doing stuff with us or giving us stuff. Um, that was kind of like how my mom showed her love
showed
and
her
support.
affection for you guys. And Alberto, what was your dynamic like with your mom?
Well, me and my mom, I knew that we actually she supported my young siblings, so I cast it away on my own and tried to support myself, so I didn't have to put that burden on her.
Oh,
Yeah. But,
interesting. Okay. And you did that by doing what? Like, for example, what would you do to
uh,
alleviate some of that burden?
well, I actually went and lived by myself with my friends,
Ah,
which I was actually in with gangs, and we went out stealing and trying to support myself.
okay. So you basically found a different family,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Yeah.
And how old were you when you went to go live on your own?
16.
Oh my goodness. Chi-Town, School of the Hard Knocks for real, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna be heading into break in a few minutes, but before we get there, Kira, so you're starting therapy at 8 years old. You're not having that really close dynamic relationship that you're looking for from your mom.
Mhm.
As all kids do, if we don't get something from one place, we go to find it somewhere else.
Mhm.
Definitely.
Where were you finding your comfort, your acceptance, your love that you were looking for from your mom?
I didn't find it. I just had a void in my heart and I never knew what it was. But now that I'm older, I see that's what it was. And I tried to fill it with attention from friends and stuff like that, or just being loud or, doing really good in sports. Like I didn't know how to fill it and that stuff wasn't working. And eventually it ended up leading to drugs.
Okay, so you started the normal route, and myself working with kids, the normal route is the behavior. Usually at school, you're getting into trouble, or getting trying to gain some type of attention. Then you go to trying to over excel. So you're either doing really, really great in your grades, or you're trying to excel in sports and or theater or whatever to get that to garner that attention. You're still not finding that. So now you find your way into drugs. How did you get into drugs? How do you go from like this really nice lifestyle to falling into drugs?
Um, just hanging out with, I guess, acceptance was a big thing. I wanted to find acceptance, and
Mm,
Southerners are like the most accepting people there are. So I
yeah.
fit in like perfect with them. Like I didn't feel like I was different or anything like that. Like I wasn't exactly doing drugs when we started hanging out because my
Okay.
mom said that, you know, drugs are going to kill you and they're bad for you. But I saw all my friends smoking and laughing and having a great time. And I was like, this is like, they're out, they're alive. They're okay. Like
Right. No
maybe,
one's dying. They look like
yeah.
they're having a great time. Yeah.
And that's just kind of started with like alcohol and weed. And from there, it just kind of progressed.
Wow. So we're going to go ahead and head into break. And when we come back, we're going to talk with Kira about a really serious incident that happened to her at just 16 years old. So you guys hang tight, and we're going to keep following Kira's journey when we come back. Okay, everyone, welcome back to the Retrain Your Brain Effect. We're going to continue on with Kira's journey here. So when we left off from the break, Kira had, pretty much found her crew, her tribe, and is now introduced into drinking, smoking, and is it safe to say you are feeling accepted now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So Kira, so tell us, how does this lead to heroin though? Like this is such a large jump from, I mean, I'm only assuming, but to me, it seems like a large jump from alcohol and weed, hanging out with friends, which seems like a typical, teenage behavior, to heroin. What happened?
Okay. So, I think, I don't remember exactly. I think, I got popped off at school or something. My mom ended up sending me to rehab. It was an outpatient facility. And I ended up getting weed while I was in there because my mom had me on lockdown. And she had caught me with the weed and realized that I had got it from this outpatient. So they ended up putting me into an inpatient facility. And it was a 30-day program. And of course, they extended me for like 3 more months. So I was there for 4 months total. But while I was there was a girl who did heroin, and like she had a terrible story. Like this girl went through a lot of stuff. But the
Mm,
only thing that I remembered was her telling me if I like drinking, that I would love heroin. And she's like, it just
ah,
takes away everything. And I was like, okay, whatever, like it always stuck in my head. Like there's got to be something really good about it if so many people die from it and they still
mm.
do. So that was kind of like my mindset
Wait, wait,
in
wait, wait,
rehab.
wait, 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 wait. You said there has to be something really good about it if so many people
Yeah,
died from it,
yeah, and they still do it. Like
and they
what is
still do
so,
it.
yeah, like what is good enough to die? Like what is that
Mm,
feeling? And that was like what went through my mind.
that's deep.
Uh
Wow.
yeah. And I knew the slang words because she was like, oh, we call it dope. We go to the city, we go to the spot. So all of those slang words were like put in my head while I was in rehab with these girls. So when I had gotten out, um, I had ended up I was hanging out with some guys and some girls, some friends, and these guys were older. They were actually friends with my friend's sister, older sister. And I heard him talking about going to the spot. And I was like, spot? And they're like, yeah, what do you know about dope? And I was like, you mean heroin? And they're like, oh, what you know about that? And I was like, well, can I go with? Like, I want to try it. And I went with, and we got some crack and some heroin. And that was it. Like, I realized the feeling that she was talking about, and the way to explain it would be, when it's pouring rain and you're like driving in your car and it's just crazy. It's pouring rain. And then you go under a bridge and everything's silent. And
Yes.
then as soon as you hear the bridge, it's just downpour again.
Yeah.
So heroin is that bridge. When everything
Mm.
in life is crazy, when you're high, it's just kind of
It just takes that
everything
away.
is silent, and it filled that void that I felt too. It
Wow.
numbed me completely. So the thoughts, the feelings that I've always had, like the sadness, everything was just okay.
Silence.
It was
Yeah.
everything was
Everything
okay. And
was, yeah, like Alberto just said, it was silent and you didn't have to
yeah.
deal with it. So, Kira, take us back, 16 years old. You
Mhm.
had this crazy experience take place in your life, and experience is really putting it politely.
Mhm.
Can you share that story with everyone?
Yeah. So I was hanging out with some friends, and we ended up we wanted to get some dope. And the girl was like, "Oh, I have a way to get some money. I'm gonna go dance for this dude." And I was like, "Okay." She's like, "Do you want to come?" I'm like, "Well, I'm not gonna dance, but I'll come with, like, it's whatever." And so we ended up going there. And when we got there, it was at a hotel, and there were two guys up in there, and it was me and my girlfriend. And I
Mm,
realized that she wasn't dancing, she was prostituting.
wow.
So I was like 45 minutes away from home. I didn't have a car, I didn't have a phone, because cell phones weren't back in the day. And we ended up being in this room, and she just kind of like, "This is it." And I'm a people pleaser. Like, I don't want to make the situation worse. I don't like drama. Like, I don't want her to be pissed at me for not doing it. I don't want him to say screw it and not give her the money. Like, I felt like I didn't really have a choice. And so I had to sleep with this guy too, because I didn't want them to just kick me out and leave me out there and do whatever. And I just felt really, really, really depressed and dirty afterwards and
Mm,
used, because that's not who I am. Like, I've always been like privacy type person. Like, if I'm gonna have sex with somebody, it's gonna be with somebody that I connect with on like a good level.
mm-hmm.
And it really, really messed me up because I didn't want to do it. But I
Yeah.
felt like I was just in this situation and I had no choice because I'm stupid. And
Well,
I
I
never,
mean, and you're a kid, and you're a
I know.
kid.
And that's the thing though, is I never think. I
Yeah.
just do things without playing the tape through. Like, like, why would I even go if I'm not going to plan on helping her? And I didn't think about that. I was just thinking about the dope, and I got
Right.
myself in a really crappy situation,
Yeah.
and it put me into like a really bad depression. And I don't remember if it was, I went home first and my mom noticed, like, I was in all black and hoodies. I'm a colorful person. I'm a free spirit. I was just laying in bed, and my mom had asked me if something had happened, and I like
Mm,
started crying. And I don't remember if that's what set me off to run away, but I was heading over there anyways to go and get the dope from the night before. And I just felt I just felt so dirty and so gross. And I just kept doing more and more dope. And I didn't know anything about overdosing. I didn't think about that at the time. I just didn't want to feel what I was feeling. And I guess I overdosed, and the two guys that were with us ended up, when they couldn't wake me up, they left and they told her mom that we were asleep downstairs. So she didn't check on us or anything. And my girlfriend nodded out next to me. And I guess my mom woke up with like a bad feeling, and she ended up calling the police and saying that I was a runaway. And the first house that they went to was my best friend's house. And they turned the light on and they
n-
found me dead pretty much
so
on the couch.
Kira, I'm sorry. I'm just going to stop you right there for a second because I just want to clarify one thing. So, when you had left to go to go do the drugs with your friends, was this the like night number 1 that you ran off, or night 2, night 3, or you can't really remember?
No, I, it's so hard to remember. I know I was gone for a couple of days, so I don't know if I was just doing dope the whole time or if it was
Okay.
the same. Everything is such a blur to me. Like, I just remember I didn't wake up, and I woke up in a hospital.
So because and the reason why I'm saying this is because like growing up with some friends that were similar, they would get into fights with their parents, run off, go stay at a friend's house.
Mhm.
Parents, after a while you kind of get used to the child's behavior, like, oh, okay, they'll be back in a couple of days, because that's just what you do as a kid. You end up coming back home at some point usually. But for
Yeah.
your mom, because at this point this had become a regular thing, correct? You were in and out of the house, gone for a few
Mhm.
days. So for your mom to wake up this night
Mhm.
with a strange feeling, not feeling right, her first thing to do is to call the cops to
Mhm.
report you missing. And when we talked about this before, you said the paramedics, the first place, because nobody knew where you were, the
Yeah.
first place that they just happened to stop to check
Mhm. It was the house
was
I.
where you were lying unconsciously.
Pissed myself, foaming at the mouth, bleeding out the nose, 100%.
No matter how many times I hear this, no matter how many times I hear that, I'm still so blown away. It is
Yeah.
such a miracle that they found you and were able to revive you.
Yeah. It took like 4 shots of Narcan, I think they said, and I didn't wake up right away. I think I woke up the next day. I don't even know how long I was
Oh
asleep.
my
I have
gosh.
no clue. It's such a blur. That whole thing is just such a blur. But I just remember the nurse telling me like somebody else had overdosed and he didn't make it, and how lucky I was that I had made it. And I
Yeah,
still I didn't
absolutely.
care. I didn't care.
So I would like to say, or I would like to believe that after this horrific experience, that you cleaned up your life and you were on the straight and narrow. You were back to school, softball team, top of your class. Yes? Is this how
Oh,
the story ends?
what kind of story would that be? Of course not.
Real.
No.
Oh no. Okay,
Mm-mm.
so unfortunately, we've come to the end of our segment. However, we will definitely be having you for part 2 because we need to figure out how this story ends, how we get this beautiful couple sitting in front of us who look like they have not been through half the stuff you guys have been telling me. Every time we talk, my jaw is just on the floor because I cannot believe it. You guys are truly the epitome of retraining your mind and turning your lives around and living a completely, I mean, when I say complete, I mean, and like 180, a completely different life than you were
Mhm.
living before. So it is possible. It is so possible for anybody to be able to do this, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you guys again for joining me on this show. It means so much to me. I really hope that someone out there is listening and being inspired and encouraged by your story. You guys are going to be back for part 2.
Okay.
Yes.
And is there anything you want to say to our listeners before we head out?
Stay tuned. It gets a little bit more crazy.
Oh, Kira with the cliffhangers. All
Oh
right.
yeah.
All right, tribe. I just want to encourage you guys just to hang on for just a moment. Coming up next.